covering more of the 12 Days of OpenAI event that's been happening. Like you said, over the last 8 days, they're basically releasing new products and updates each weekday for 12 weekdays in a row. So since our last episode dropped, including today, the company has released announcements for days 4 through 8. So I'm going to run through them really quickly. And then, Paul, I'd love to get your thoughts on kind of what we're seeing here. So on day 4, OpenAI announced the general release of Canvas in ChatGPT. Canvas is a side panel that has responses from ChatGPT on a shared, editable, and shareable page so that you can more effectively collaborate with GPT and others on writing and coding tasks. On day 5, OpenAI unveiled its long-awaited integration with Apple Intelligence. So the team showed off significant improvements using AI to things like Siri's capabilities. The voice assistant is now able to handle complex queries and provide more natural, context-aware responses powered by ChatGPT. Users can now seamlessly move between Siri and the ChatGPT app, and Siri is able to open different ChatGPT tools like Canvas and DALL-E. So this system is also able to work with Apple's visual intelligence, allowing for sophisticated image analysis and processing. On day 6, OpenAI finally delivered on its promise of video capabilities for ChatGPT's advanced voice mode. This was a feature that, if you recall, was first previewed during the GPT 4.0 launch back in May. It was a bit delayed after that, but now it is out and it allows users to interact with ChatGPT through their phone's camera. So the AI can actually see and respond to what's happening in real time. This feature also includes some screen sharing capabilities, which allows ChatGPT to understand and comment on content that is displayed on your device. At the same time, they also released a bit of a festive twist. OpenAI introduced a Santa mode for voice mode. So basically, you can have it sound and talk just like Santa Claus. You can access this feature by tapping a snowflake icon in the ChatGPT interface. Day 7, we got OpenAI announcing better organization in ChatGPT with a new feature called Projects. This is designed to help users manage their AI conversations more effectively. It works like a sophisticated folder structure. It allows users to group related conversations and resources together in a more intuitive way. So projects will appear in the ChatGPT sidebar. Users can create new projects, customize them with different colors, and add instructions to guide how ChatGPT responds within this particular project. You can also add and attach files and add existing chat conversations. Now, finally, today, just probably about an hour or two before we're recording here on Monday, December 16th, OpenAI announced on day 8 improvements to ChatGPT's search function. So not only is search a lot faster, but they also showed how it is optimized for mobile. So the team actually demonstrated on mobile doing searches about, they used an example of finding a restaurant in San Francisco that serves Mexican food and has outdoor patios with heaters. And ChatGPT search on mobile now presents this kind of clean visual list of businesses and the search results for those particular queries. So search is actually now also going to be enabled, which they were displaying it as, in advanced voice mode. So the team is able to actually, they demoed how you can talk to ChatGPT to actually search up-to-date information on the web. So in their example, they actually had ChatGPT look up different holiday events happening in the coming week in different locations around the world. And they got up-to-date info about the locations, the hours of these events at the locations, as well as the weather on certain days. Now, while this is our last formal episode of the year, obviously there are 4 more days to cover in the event. So we'll link in the show notes to the ongoing post we have summarizing all these updates, and we'll be updating that once this event has concluded as well. So Paul, that's quite a bit to unpack. That could be honestly half, if not the entire podcast episode alone. I'd love to get your thoughts on like what we saw this week. I mean, for me, I have to say I'm most impressed so far with advanced voice and video.
Yeah, so I'll run down a few of my takeaways here. So Canvas is nice. I'm not a power user of Canvas within GPT 4.0, so it wasn't like a huge thing for me. But having it now in custom GPTs is going to be interesting, and kind of like as they keep building out that capability. Um, Apple Intelligence plus ChatGPT is very interesting. So this is the first time where I feel like we're starting to see the vision for Apple Intelligence. Just a reminder here, if you have an iPhone, it's got to be, I think, 15 Pro or higher to be able to use Apple Intelligence.
Mm.
And then check your iPad and Mac devices to make sure that they're compatible in terms of the OS and the generation you have of those. But when you connect the account, when you turn on kind of the Apple Intelligence, you actually have to go into settings and then go to Apple Intelligence, and then you can use ChatGPT free, or you can choose to connect it to an existing ChatGPT account, which is what I did. And then I have a personal account and I have an account for the business. And so it actually lets you choose which of those you're going to be sending stuff to, because the way it works is when you talk to Siri or when you use visual intelligence, it's actually sending those inputs, like your requests, your prompts, to your existing ChatGPT account. So just some notes on the setup. I tested Siri, and it's interesting because like historically, I've been as big a critic as Siri as anybody. Like it's just useless basically historically. Um, and it's always been like, why can't it just answer something? Why does it always have to be like, I found it on the web. It's like, I'm driving. I don't, if I wanted to go to the web, I would have gone to the web, Siri. Like, tell me the answer to my question. So what it does now is it says, would you like to connect to ChatGPT to get this answer? And then it says working with ChatGPT. And so I tried one where I said, what happened at the Cleveland Browns game yesterday? Figure it was like real time, see what happened. And it actually did a really good job. It gave me a ChatGPT generated summary in about, I don't know, 5 seconds. And then it read it to me.
Mm.
And so I thought that was a really good start. Like I could absolutely see myself using Siri now way more. I find my guess is I'm going to get really annoyed that I have to say yes every time to, do you want me to use with ChatGPT? It's like, I just want a universal yes. Like if I ask you and you don't know, just go to ChatGPT, which Apple will know that that is a friction point, and they will either solve for that or they will eventually build their own version of this so they don't have to go to ChatGPT, which is my guess is what they'll probably eventually do.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Visual intelligence is interesting. If you haven't used that yet, on the 16 Pro, I think is what I have. So there's this new button on the right-hand side. And so if you just click on that, it actually brings up what looks like the camera function, except you have kind of the rainbow effect going on that you do with the new Siri. And then you can ask or search are the two options. And what happens is it basically takes a picture of whatever you're looking at, and then it can go search for that. So I have like I like scotch. So I have a bookshelf next to where I'm recording from right now that has a collection of scotch bottles. And so I just like took a picture of, it was Johnny Walker Black. And it went and like found that bottle at different places where you could buy a bottle of scotch and pricing. And I was like, okay, that's pretty nice. And then you can ask it anything you want. And so it's like, okay, what is this? And it's like, oh, it's a bottle of Johnny Walker Black. And so that was pretty cool. So the Apple Intelligence plus ChatGPT integration is worth testing now. It's actually, very functional. Advanced voice. Actually, I'm going to come back to advanced voice. Projects is interesting. I love that you can now organize your chats, your threads that you've got going on. My problem immediately was I got really excited because I'm doing this co-CEO webinar tomorrow. And I was like, oh, awesome. I can take all of my co-CEO threads that I name co-CEO so I can find them in my
Mhm.
left panel. And I went to add them to the new co-CEO project. And I realized like, I can't. So I actually went on X and I tweeted at Adam Goldberg, who's a go-to-market lead at OpenAI, and then Kevin Whale, who's the chief product officer, and said like, hey, this is awesome, but it's an annoying limitation that I can't seem to add these custom GPTs to a project folder. And so I'm stuck renaming and labeling these things. I thought projects would solve for that. And the chief product officer, Kevin, actually replied and said it's on the list. So one, I thought it was cool that he took the time to reply on a Sunday. And two, it's coming. Because if
Mm.
you're like me, the vast majority of my use of ChatGPT now is within custom GPTs. So I can't organize anything without that capability.
Right.
So projects, I think, is nice. And then advanced voice. So as much as we've talked about Project Astra from Google this year and this idea of giving devices vision capability to understand the world around you, it it's here. Like if you go into advanced voice mode and you click on the camera, you open up a vision of what you're looking at and you can talk to it and it sees and understands. So like if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see my basement. And so I actually went over to the big copy of the book from Mike and I said, like, tell me about these authors. And it actually like told me about me and Mike. It gave the background. It talked about the book. I went like over here and I said, what do you see here? And it's like, oh, that looks like a really fun rocket. And I said, what kind of rocket is it? Like, it looks like the Saturn V Lego set. I'm like, perfect. It nailed it. I showed it a picture of a puzzle behind me. It's like, oh, that looks like fun. Are you going to frame it since it's already done? And so it's like, it's working. It's seen. Now it made some mistakes on a couple things, but we now have in ChatGPT the ability to show it something. So if you're traveling, if you're looking at signs and trying to understand it, if you're looking at products in a store, like you now have vision capability on your phone to
Mm.
do this with. And the other one is screen sharing. You can actually open up and go in and choose to share your screen and then interact with whatever is happening on your screen and talk to ChatGPT about it. So I'm with you. Like the advanced voice improvements with video
Yeah.
and screen share are huge and could easily have been lost in a week of craziness since they introduced that on the same day as Santa mode, which like is the first thing I went to was Santa mode. And by the way, if you have younger kids like preteens and teens, ask it to do like "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" or some other Christmas song or poem in Gen Z slang. It's hilarious and it'll, I would say cringe your kids out. Like my poor daughter was like hiding in the back seat listening to this thing. It was so funny. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of good stuff, but I would say advanced voice and the Apple Intelligence were the things I was the most kind of geeked about.
Yeah, and this might just be my personal opinion, but as a huge advanced voice mode user already, this screen sharing also makes a big case for ChatGPT Pro and getting rid of usage limits. Because if I can suddenly be like pair working with this thing and having it tell me, like, hey, how could I be more efficient? How do I do this step? That's really, really fast time to value for me for a
Yeah.
subscription like that.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And I think that you're starting to see how they could tier their pricing models further in the future now that
Mhm.
these things are capable of way more than text in and text out. And that's because, again, for context here, we started the year, all of these models were basically text in and text out. They could do some video, image generation, but like they couldn't see and talk to you about things you were seeing. They couldn't
Mhm.
generate videos the way we're now seeing these. So like we have had a massive shift now in what these models are capable of, and we can look out into next year and start to see some of the other capabilities that are coming very closely behind.